Are you serious? Are you serious? Got fresh coffee here, and thank you for being a member of Patreon. You're helping us reach people with the gospel of Jesus Christ. Thank you so much. All right, now, the darkness. Planet X, Nibiru, planet number 9. All right, the dwarf star, the goblin, wormwood, whatever you want to call it. The Bible definitely talks about a time coming upon the planet during the great wrath of God. But is this the second time that this dwarf star, this Nibiru, ancient Nibiru, is this the second time that it's coming around? Was it during the first time during the plagues of Egypt? And it wasn't just the plagues of Egypt that God may have used this body, this binary system or comet, but it may be he used it. He may have used it for the plagues of Egypt, but it affected other parts of the world, as I've proven to you, or at least brought it to your attention in the last two descriptions of the last two plagues that we've talked about. Now, there's another plague in Egypt that was called the darkness. And let me tell you what it says in the Bible, 2 verses. In Exodus chapter 10, you can read the whole story if you want to. But in Exodus chapter 10, verse 22, in the King James Version of the Bible says, "And Moses stretched forth his hand toward heaven, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days. They saw not one another, neither rose any from his place for 3 days. But all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings." It's very important. Now keep that in mind. Let's look at some other historical accounts of what happened during the same time period that this took place. Okay, now some of the rabbinical writings say that this event could have lasted more than 3 days, maybe in as much as 7 days, but there were 3 days of total darkness. And in this manuscript written in 1950, that's the way they explain the rabbinical understanding of it. But there was other sources we have to look at. Let me find it. Here we go. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. You'd think I'd have had it together here. Oh, here we go. In the manuscripts of Avila and Molina, who collected the traditions of the Indians of the New World, it is related that the sun did not appear for 5 days during the same period. A cosmic collision of stars preceded a cataclysm. People and animals tried to escape to the mountain caves. Scarcely had they reached there when the sea, breaking out of the bounds following a terrifying shock, began to rise on the Pacific coast. But as the sea rose, filling the valleys and the plains around, the mountain of Enkesmakara rose too, like a ship on the waves. During the 5 days that this cataclysm lasted, the sun did not show its face, and the earth remained in darkness. Now, the same period, the same time, the traditions of the Peruvian Indians described a time when the sun did not appear for 5 days. Well, this would be in the same hemisphere. In the upheaval, the earth changed its profile, and the sea fell upon the land. Now, east of Egypt, in Babylonia, they wrote in an ancient text called the 11th tablet of the Epic of Gilgamesh. It refers to the same event, same time. But from out of the horizon rose a dark cloud, and it rushed against the earth. The land was shriveled by the heat of the flames. Desolation stretched to heaven. All that was bright was turned into darkness, nor could a brother distinguish his brother. 6 days the hurricane, deluge, and tempest continued sweeping the land, and all human back to its clay was returned. And then in the Iranian book of Anugita, it revealed that a threefold day and a threefold night concluded a world age. In the book of the Buhanis in a context that shall quote later, that it showed that a close relation to the events of the cataclysm described there tells of the world being dark at midday as though it were in the deepest night. It was caused, according to the Buhanas, by a war between the stars and the planets, some type of cataclysmic collision in the cosmos, and a protracted night deepened by the onrushing dust, sweeping in the interplanetary space, enveloped Europe, Africa, and America, and the valleys of the Euphrates and the Indus also. If the earth did not stop rotating, but slowed down or was tilted, there must have been a longitude where a prolonged day was followed by a prolonged night. Iran is so situated that if one is to believe that the Iranian tradition, the sun was absent for a threefold day, and then it shone for a threefold day, further to the east there must have been a protracted day corresponding to this protracted night in the west. And according to the Bahman Yast, at the end of the world age, in eastern Iran or in India, the sun remained 10 days visible in the sky. And in China, during the same time period, the reign of Emperor Yahoo, a great catastrophe brought a world age to a close. For 10 days the sun did not set. The events of the time of the Emperor Yahoo deserves close examination of this event. So in other words, it might have been 3 days of darkness in Egypt, but in America it was 5 days of darkness, but in China it was 10 days of the sun staying up. And in Babylon it was 3 days of total sun and in 3 days of total darkness. So it depended where you were at on the globe, the effects of this cataclysmic collision in the cosmos that created the plague of 3 days of darkness on the land of Egypt. And it was all documented in all these ancient texts at the same time. But the effects on the earth were different. It depended where you were. But every time the Israelis had no darkness, no plague, no locusts, no frogs. Every time God protected them. But he used some type of event in the heavens. Was it Nibiru? Was it, the Planet X? Was it call it what you want, Planet Number 9, the Goblin, the Dwarf Star, Wormwood, call it what you want. The Bible calls it wormwood in the book of Revelation. That's because we haven't had wormwood yet. That's coming. That's during the wrath of God. That's coming. You won't be here for that if you're a Christian. You will be here for that if you're not a Christian and you're still alive. Okay, so this is real important. God set a precedent in the Old Testament that the righteous will not suffer from the plagues, but the unrighteous will. God specifically said, I've not appointed you unto wrath. And so it's his promises he will keep, he will hold, he doesn't lie. I find it, though, fascinating that the events of the Old Testament period of Egypt were documented in all these different ancient manuscripts in different parts of the world at the same time. So, is it possible that Planet X is coming back around and God will use Planet X to pour out the wrath upon the planet? You decide. Thank you for being a member of Patreon. So, if Mike from Around the World says the waves of energy are coming, and we actually had 2 waves hit us over the weekend, just like he said was coming, the 3rd wave of the 5 wave of energy. It hit us Friday. Another ripple hit Saturday. It lasted 4.5 hours. It sent a shock wave, a tremor in the magnetosphere. Are you serious? Everything, and there's fine dust starting to settle in Ohio. What about the cinders? What about the other events that's coming? Are you saved? Thank you for being a member of Patreon. And oh, by the way, tonight, don't miss tonight's live broadcast. This is Monday evening, November the 12th, and my guest will be Stephen Ben-Danoon. All right, Stephen Ben-Danoon, as Israel is under attack. We're in the last days. Are you serious? Thank you for being a member of Patreon.